So we're going to start with AEW this week because there is a lot of crazy stuff going on right now in the world of All Elite Wrestling. You had to expect that the audience would be up on Wednesday night for the biggest match in Dynamite history between CM Punk and Jon Moxley to crown an undisputed AEW World Champion. And they were. They were over 1 million viewers, which they had to be. Anything less would have been a disaster. I'm sure TNT and TBS are going to be happy with the numbers anyway, but I'm sorry. You put that match out there, you do anything under 1 million, that would be a disaster. My ratings prediction, I said we should have a contest. This is what I said the other night. We should do a little contest on the stream on Wednesday night. My prediction was 1,050,000. I put it right in the middle there between 1 million and 1.1. I said 1,050,000 viewers. Then the rating came in on Thursday. 1,049,000 viewers. If this was the Price is Right, I would be over the actual retail price. But this ain't the Price is Right, bitch. So I'll take it. What do I win? I won my own contest. What do I get? I also said that that's not the number that really matters. And it really isn't. That number, you could throw it away. The number that really matters is going to be the rating this Wednesday. How many of those extra people who tuned in are going to stick around and come back after seeing that match and after seeing that finish? My guess is not nearly as many. And that is the risk that Tony Khan runs by doing what he did on Wednesday night. They delivered a championship match that did not even close the show, mind you, that ran a grand total of 3 minutes, with Moxley more or less squashing CM Punk and pinning him after 2 Death Riders to unify the titles. The story was that after a flurry of offense from both guys, Punk threw a head kick, and he immediately went down. He was grabbing the opposite foot. And no, he did not grab the wrong foot. I have seen this all week long. I have seen this. There were people who left YouTube comments. There were tweets. Oh, he used the wrong foot. You forgot to mention during the stream he was selling the wrong foot. He did not sell the wrong foot. The idea is that he planted the other foot. He could have twisted it. Not the foot that he threw, but the foot that he planted. A literal heel turn is what cost him the championship. And he sold it like he had rebroken it. The doctor was checking on him. Ultimately, he staggered back up on one good leg. Moxley beat his ass. It was a shocking finish. Very similar to what WWE did with Bill Goldberg and Brock Lesnar at Survivor Series in 2016. Only here, instead of Punk underestimating Moxley, as Brock underestimated Goldberg, the story was the foot injury and that Punk may have come back too soon. Now they're telling the exact same story right now with Kenny Omega, that maybe he came back too soon from injury. It feels like we've got these 2 overlapping stories here. But Punk had not had a great history with Cleveland. They were in Cleveland on Wednesday. Cleveland was the place where he walked out of Monday Night Raw in 2014, never to be seen again in WWE. Cleveland is where he got his ass kicked by Mickey Gall at UFC 203. And Cleveland is where he lost his AEW World Championship to Jon Moxley. But the real story was after the match was over, when they got this great shot of Punk. As he was being helped out of the ring, he was looking back at Moxley, celebrating in the crowd, and he was looking around at this cheering audience, celebrating, everyone celebrating Moxley's win. This was the look of a man who I believe is absolutely turning heel. And if he isn't, then he should be. Remember what Punk said last year at the Grand Slam show at Arthur Ashe? He hears people saying they want the old CM Punk, who was always mad and always pissed off. He said, trust me, eventually you'll see him. Be careful what you wish for. Doing what they did is part of a larger story that they're telling with Punk. I don't think it has anything to do with him still being hurt and not being ready to do longer matches. I don't think it has to do with him being punished for going into business for himself with what he said about Hangman Page. And by the way, no follow-up to that whatsoever this week. No receipt from Hangman, who wasn't even on the show. I think Tony Khan had to put his foot down on this stuff. But I don't think it's any of that. I don't think it's Tony Khan's way of getting the belt off him in case he decides to leave the company. These are all scenarios that we went over as potential, ideas or potential reasons that these things were happening. And as I kind of went down the list, I was crossing each one of them off. I don't think it's any of that. I don't think CM Punk is going anywhere. I don't think it's a matter of Tony Khan trying to protect himself in case Punk leaves the company. I don't think it's any of that. The only place that CM Punk is going, and Meltzer said as much in The Observer this week, is to Chicago for the rematch with Jon Moxley at All Out. When the show was over, I wasn't sure what their endgame was for the pay-per-view because we're 7 days away from the show. And we have no main event. The only opponent that really makes sense for Jon Moxley, especially in Chicago, is CM Punk. Now, they could have Moxley come out on TV this week because Moxley has been announced for a promo. We're going to get a Jon Moxley promo on Dynamite this Wednesday, which you had to expect. I can envision Moxley coming out to do a promo and saying, I don't give a shit who steps up. I'm going to be in Chicago. I'm defending my title at All Out. I don't care who it's against. And build intrigue around who might accept his challenge. Or maybe have the winner of the Casino Ladder Match challenge him for the championship later on that night. We don't even know who the participants in the ladder match are going to be yet. But it looks like they're going to shoot the angle on Wednesday to set up the rematch with Punk and Moxley. I still don't agree with giving the first match away the way they did on TV. It might make more sense after All Out. And, surely if they were going to do this finish, you can't do this finish in the main event of the pay-per-view. The people in that building would rebel if you did what they did on Wednesday at All Out. Better to do that on TV if that's what they wanted to do. But you only get to do the first match once. And when it was over, it soured a lot of people on the show. I've never seen a lower percentage, a lower score on Dynamite in all the years I've been doing the Twitter polls. Really since the beginning, in late 2019 when the show debuted. All the Twitter polls that I've done, I've never seen this low of a score for an AEW show. There were still more thumbs up than thumbs down, but the number was under 50%, and that's never happened before that I can recall. So clearly there were a lot of pissed off people when that show was over, and it wasn't even a bad show. We had an excellent trios match in the main event with Will Ospreay and Aussie Open beating Death Triangle. Dax Harwood and Jay Lethal had a good one. Ricky Starks showed some great fire in his promo to set up his match with Powerhouse Hobbs. It was not a bad show. But when you promote a huge title match like this, especially in AEW, you have to know that the fans are going to have certain expectations. Tony Khan is usually very good when it comes to reading the room with his own audience and giving the fans what they want to see. This was the first time where that did not happen. It was disappointing. And no, it's not going to kill the company. It's not their finger poke of doom. Some of the things I read this week were just beyond absurd. Will there be viewers who tuned in to see a big title match who aren't going to tune in again this week? Of course, yes, there will be some. They're not going to get 1 million again this week. But it's not the beginning of the end for AEW. What it is going to do is play into the story that they are trying to tell. Someone the other day said that I was playing mental gymnastics with that and trying to explain the finish away, and that, if WWE had done the same thing, I'd be singing a very different tune. I made it very clear in my review that I thought it was a disappointment. English is my primary language here. You want me to learn? I'll learn to say it in 5 other fucking languages if you want me to. I thought I was pretty clear in what I said in the review. But it is playing into a larger story. That is a statement of fact. You don't have to like the story they're telling. I'm just stating facts, and sometimes that scares people. In case you forgot, or maybe you're new here, I also raved about the SummerSlam match where Brock Lesnar destroyed John Cena. And that was a pay-per-view main event. Suplex after suplex after suplex, F5, and he pinned him 1, 2, 3. And I loved every second of it. I said that's exactly what their Extreme Rules match should have been when Lesnar came back to the company. People thought the match was boring. I said these people didn't understand what the point of it was. Brock wasn't there to entertain you. He was there to make you feel uncomfortable. They were telling a story. It was Doomsday killing Superman. This, I wasn't a fan of. But now, if they go to All Out and they do the rematch, maybe with a stipulation, Punk is going to win back the title, because for the larger story to work best, CM Punk should go heel, and win back the championship so that when MJF comes back, he could be the one to take the title from CM Punk. I still think that is the end goal of all of this. You know, hey, maybe I'm way off and Tony Khan doesn't want to turn CM Punk heel. And the injury angle is to make his win at All Out that much more heroic in front of his hometown fans, because they are in Chicago. And whatever boos CM Punk got in Cleveland on Wednesday are going to be drowned out, if there are any, by an adoring crowd in Chicago. We know he's going to come out and get a hero's welcome. And then maybe the dastardly MJF returns as the heel to rain on his parade. It's very possible. But I think when MJF returns, a lot of people are going to want to cheer for him. The idea of MJF as a babyface, it still feels wrong to me when I say it out loud. But I don't see him being the traditional wrestling babyface. I think it could work. And I think he could be a massive star in that role for them. And you know, I have to say this too. Because the guy gets shit on by so many people. I'm seeing so much hate for this guy that it makes me want to stick up for him. Jon Moxley does not get enough credit for what he has done for AEW. He gets shit on by a lot of people who make fun of what he looks like, or, oh, he dresses like a bum. He doesn't know how to wrestle. All he knows how to do is bleed, and he does the garbage wrestling stuff, which he does. Ever since the guy came back, he's been wrestling everywhere. He's working with people from all different promotions. But he has been someone that Tony Khan, despite all of these different promotions that he is working for, he has been someone that Tony Khan has been able to lean on and rely on. When Punk went down with the broken foot, he called on Jon Moxley to wrestle Tanahashi because he needed a main event for Forbidden Door. He stepped up. And he has defended that interim championship on TV multiple times. He has been one of the MVPs of this company. And I understand if people don't like his style or they just happen to not be a Jon Moxley fan, but my God, the hate. You don't have to be a Jon Moxley fan, but I think the hate is very much over the top. And if you're not willing to admit the fact that Tony Khan has leaned on the guy and has been very fortunate to have him around to rely on him because he is still one of the biggest names in the entire company, then you're a fool. Facts are facts. People don't like facts, but the facts, they are what they are. You don't have to like them, but it's the truth.